Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Iman Izzati Binti Jasman. So for the experiment 5, which is antibiotic resistant. So for the objective for this experiment is to determine the susceptibility or resistance of bacteria to antibiotics. And the lastly is to measure the inhibition zone form and the level of susceptibility of antibiotic of bacteria. So I will start. Kirby-Bauer antimicrobial susceptibility test. The diffusion test or agar diffusion test or Kirby-Bauer test is a test of the antibiotic sensitivity of bacteria. It uses antibiotic disc to test the extent to which bacteria are affected by those antibiotics. In this test, wafers containing antibiotics are placed on an agar plate where bacteria have been placed and the plate is left to incubate. If an antibiotic stops the bacteria from growing or kills the bacteria, there will be an area around the wafer where the bacteria have not grown enough to be visible. So this is called a zone of inhibition. So we use 3 bacteria in this experiment, which is Escherichia coli, Pseudomonas aeruginosa, and Staphylococcus aureus. So this is Kirby-Bauer table of interpretive standard. So for zone inhibition diameter, we use millimeter. And so here is the antibiotic, which is amoxicillin AMC, cephalotin CF, chloramphenicol C, ciprofloxacin CIP, clindamycin CC, erythromycin E, oxacillin OX, penicillin G P, streptomycin S, tetracycline TE, tobramycin TM, and the lastly is trimethoprim sulfa, which is the acronym is SXT. So this is the inhibition diameter, which is include resistant, intermediate, and susceptible. So I will continue the test by measure the inhibition diameter in mm by using this ruler. So for the first bacteria, which is Escherichia coli, so I will measure the antibiotic for this first bacteria. So for the first is AMC 12, which is resistant, CF 18, which is susceptibility, C 30, which is susceptibility, CIP 30, which is susceptibility, CC 7, which is resistant, E 6, which is resistant, OX 7, which is resistant, P 7, which is resistant, S 18, which is susceptibility. TE 18, which is intermediate. TM 25, which is susceptibility. And the lastly is SXT 27, which is susceptibility. So for the first bacteria, which is Pseudomonas aeruginosa, so I will measure it by using this ruler too. So for the first antibiotic that I will measure is AMC 7, which is resistant. CF 7, which is resistant. C 15, which is intermediate. CIP 40, which is susceptible. CC 7, which is resistant. E 6, which is resistant. OX 6, which is resistant. P 7, which is resistant. S 7, which is resistant. TE 7, which is resistant. TM 18, which is susceptible. And lastly for XXT 6, which is resistant. So for the last bacteria, which is Staphylococcus aureus, so I will use this ruler too for measure the zone inhibition diameter for the antibiotic. So for the first antibiotic, which is AMC, I got 7, which is resistant. CF 6, which is resistant. C 6, which is resistant. CIP 6, which is resistant. CC 6, which is resistant. E 7, which is resistant. OX 6, which is resistant. P 6, which is resistant. S 6, which is resistant. TE 6, which is resistant. TM 6, which is resistant. XXT 6, which is resistant. And for the last antibiotic, which is VA16, which is susceptible. So that's all for Kilby Bauer antimicrobial susceptibility test.